All right, good morning everyone, talofa lava. Welcome to this meeting of the Transport and Infrastructure. Just before we start, Manuia lo malanga lao wo Efeso Collins. Just a brief prayer and tribute to our great brother from Otara. Online today is a lot of mention a couple of the protocols there that concerned is that when people speak, helpful, and all those people who are online and who will be perhaps turning on their cameras at some stage, it'll be a lot quicker to go through the councillors that are here, but these are the ones that are online. Newman, Filipina, I hope you're recovering well, Alf. Turner, Dalton, Stewart, Fully, Williamson, Sayers, Bartley, Leone and Walker. They are all the individuals who are online, as far as we know. I don't think I've missed any. So that will bring us to the first item of the day is the apologies, and that should come up on the screen for absence from Deputy Mayor Simpson on council business and Councillor Baker. We have apologies for lateness from the Mayor on council business, Councillor Turner on council business and Councillor Dalton. Is there any there that need to be added? Alrighty, there's a motion on the screen to accept early departure from Councillor Ferry. Yep. I'll move it. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Ferry. All those in favour? Carried. Any declarations of interest? Item 2. None. Confirmation of minutes from the 8th of February. There's only the open minutes. There was no confidential items there. There's a motion on the screen to confirm. I'll move. A seconder. Councillor Hills, thank you. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 4, petitions. There are no petitions. It brings us to item 5, public input. We had 2 requests, both in relation to Great North Road, which we have heard a little bit about in this term of council, but we have a presentation today from Sarah and Elizabeth, who have got a number of concerns they would like to bring to our attention, and they'll be presenting together. So welcome, Sarah and Elizabeth. If you would like to come up now, and the procedure is, I think, as I outlined, if you're talking, just press that talk button, and when you're finished, just press it again so the other person can then press theirs. So the red light's got to be on for us to be hearing you. There's a presentation up on the screen, and then we'll have some questions afterwards. Over to you. And that's a pointer, yeah. Maybe if someone could just direct that, so we just give a little bit of assistance. Thank you, Councillor Hills.
Kia ora. My name is Sarah Howard. I live in Eden Terrace with my husband and my 2 children, who both attend Te Ura Karaka Newton Central School, which is a primary school located behind the McDonald's on Great North Road. I want to focus on 3 points. Firstly, the council has heard from school representatives in the past about the fact that we have the smallest amount of land per student of any school in New Zealand. This means that we use our community assets near or on Great North Road. We walk to Grayland Library, we go to art galleries on Karangahape Road, we walk to the Aotea Centre for musicals, and we walk to Grayland Park for sports days and cross country. Even to catch a bus for trips, we must go up to Great North Road, as the streets around our school are too narrow. Secondly, the nature of Great North Road has rapidly changed. Great North Road used to be car yards and commercial businesses, but the last 10 years have seen multiple large residential and office developments go in. The very nature of the use of the road has changed, but the road hasn't. It is no longer fit for purpose. We want to free up the road for people who need to use cars, people making long trips, tradies and business people, but we need safer cycling and walking options to do that. Thirdly, unfortunately, the New Zealand Herald pressed on with an article claiming that the raised pedestrian crossings would cost near to $500,000 each. This is despite Auckland Transport supplying the true cost, which is only $19,000 to $31,000 each before printing. Understandably, this has led to an uproar, but it was based on false information and with a small retraction. So we are here to show that families still desperately want the safe cycleway and the raised pedestrian crossings. This decision will not only impact our community and our school today, but with the school roll projected to continue to increase, it will be the difference between a well-connected and involved community in 20 years and beyond, or a fragmented one. Ngā mihi nui.
My name is Liz Bush, and I've been living on Kauranga Happy Road for 12 years. I have a 9-year-old son, a 4-year-old daughter, and a husband, and as a family, at least 2 of us cycle along Great North Road every weekday, and I drive it multiple times a day in my car. We were ecstatic to hear last year that the safety upgrades along Great North Road were improved, because we know firsthand just how dangerous that road is for everyone involved. However, I heard these improvements were in danger of being delayed or defunded, so I'm here to let you know how important they are for our whole community. So, go back. So here's Great North Road. My kids and I have to bike on the footpath at the moment, but the footpath isn't always clear. There are scooters that zoom up and down, making it dangerous for small kids. Cars park on the footpath all the time. Commercial vehicles are there, blocking the view for cars zooming around the streets. And I've been in many situations where either my son or I have had close calls with cars or scooters along the road. It's made worse by the bus road on Newton Road because there's cars zipping around the side streets trying to avoid the traffic now. So what do? I hate to admit it, but I hop in my car and I drive my daughter to daycare because I'm scared for her. Here's a map of Great North Road with Newton Central School, 3 preschools and the public library on the bottom side of the map. And across the street are all the residents of Grey Lynn who want to get to those places. We know families who live on Williamson Ave and who, like me, drive their cars to Grey Lynn Kindy or Newton Central School just up the street, a few hundred metres up the street, because navigating the Great North Road traffic with small children feels too dangerous. But even for cars, I drive this road 4 to 8 times a day, and although the accident statistics on this road are abysmal, they in no way reflect the true reality of near misses that happen on this street every passing month. During rush hours, it gets mad, especially with cyclists and scooters with no boundaries zipping in and out across the street between vehicles. In comparison, the upgrades on Kauranga Happy Road have made it much more protected for myself and my kids walking and cycling and crossing the streets. And it's much smoother to drive on that road without all the other small vehicle traffic moving in and out of the car lanes. And if you look at the road, it's huge. We don't need all that space for cars, but we definitely need a lot more order. Great North Road is a major artery through the city. We need these upgrades urgently to prevent accidents because it is only a matter of time before someone gets killed on that road, especially as the population is increasing and more people are driving up and down it. Members of our school community have been asking for safer traffic flow around our school for over a decade, but as a driver on the road, it's also getting more crowded with every passing year. So please don't make us wait any longer. Let's get these safety improvements happening this year. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Liz and Sarah, for that presentation and for the visuals there that make your concerns very clear. I'll open up to questions now from Councillor Ferry.
Thank you, that was excellent. What I wanted to ask about is what impact it would have on your family, particularly, stressful in the morning, getting the kids out the door and yourself, and then again in the afternoon, if you knew that the kids could get themselves to school safely. What difference would it make for your family life?
I didn't put this in the presentation, but I was almost in tears writing this presentation because I don't think I can bring across in words how much of a difference it makes to feel that your children are safe and to be able to cycle to school, that the scientific benefits of children getting out in the fresh air before school, it makes their schooling better. I have a son who's very hyperactive, so we have to drive him to school because otherwise he's not good in class. So I didn't know how to bring it across to you in a presentation, how important this is for me as a person and for my family.
It's also like, unless you've got small children or you're a grandparent to small children, I think you forget how vulnerable and how small they are. And they're so short as well, like you don't see them. We really need these crossings to protect them. And it would just be a huge weight off all of our minds.
Thank you. And just a quick follow-up, if I may. You mentioned that you live on K Road, and I've been going that way quite a lot recently on a variety of modes, including by bike. And I've really noticed that difference when you get to the lights at Ponsonby Road. So did you want to talk a little bit about what the difference in transitioning from one roading environment that's multi-mode to one that isn't?
I don't take my daughter along Great North Road, but I do take her along K Road. The cars, so the having the bicycle lane there for her means the cars don't go zoom around the corner, and they're just more aware, and so the traffic's a bit slower. Yeah, and like it's just smoother. It's so much better because I don't know, like the scooter traffic makes a huge difference as well. So the scooter traffic is really dangerous for my kids. It's dangerous for old people. It's dangerous for anybody, not to mention themselves. They scooter down the Great North Road street at the moment, and I'm like, somebody's going to get really hurt on that street. So there's a huge difference. So K Road, I smile and I love it, and it's more of a community feel. And on Great North Road, you feel like you're in the Wild West.
Councillor Hills?
Yeah.
Kia ora, thank you, Chair. And thank you for the presentation, very clear, much like many of the presentations on this. I guess my first question, I've got two. You said you drive in what is a very small distance, maybe 8 times a day.
Yeah.
What would actually giving you safe options mean to congestion? If people, like, how many trips would you think you would still have to use in a car a day if you were able to safely move around?
I would ride my bike. So we have a big electric cargo bike, and we bought it for the purpose because we live in the city because we hate traffic. So we want to ride our bikes. So yeah, I think it would be huge. The parents that we've talked to, we're one of the few parents who drive along that road, and there's a lot of other parents who drive in there with their cars that could be riding and could be walking. So a lot of the morning traffic and the afternoon traffic is parents taking their kids to school and daycare and kindy and Bunnings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we notice it during the school holidays. But
Bunnings is very
it would be
popular.
around, most of those trips would be not in a car.
I would ride my bike exclusively.
Okay, thanks. The last question, and I understand what you mean about kids, but before I had a 2-year-old, I did still feel this way, but I think, yeah, it does bring it home to you even more when you have child, but I don't necessarily believe you have to have empathy for kids to have kids to have empathy. But I guess what would you say, we have a lot of people who campaign against Great North Road. The government seems to be completely against these sorts of kid-saving tools. What would you say to us to help us get across to those people who are vehemently against saving kids, reducing emissions? You know, is there anything you can leave us? Because there's a lot of citizens that aren't doing a lot of good when they campaign against kids being safe.
Someone said to me, you've always got to vote in mind with the most vulnerable person you know. And so if you can think about, a child in your life who's trying to navigate this busy road and, yeah, just exactly have that empathy. And I think, so just to be able to think of these kids and about how they're using their environments and whether the community you want to create is one where we're connected, we're using our community assets, or one where we're disconnected and we're not going to because it's not safe enough. And I think as well, like, it just seems like a false economy, and that if we're off the roads, the people who don't need to be using it because we can use safe cycleways, then those roads free up anyway. So it just seems like a win-win.
Yeah, and I think there's a disconnect there, is that if we want to empower our kids, it starts with cycling and riding and walking to school, actually, so around the city. So we want empowered people who are going to be at these meetings, right? It starts with giving them autonomy over how they move in the world. And so I don't think enough people in these meetings understand how kids are growing up in our world today and how the kids living in the city are disempowered because of these things not happening, these roads not being properly protected and safe for them.
Final question, Councillor Darby.
Thanks, Chair. And thank you both. Really informative and very helpful. Thank you. Just in terms of the catchment, the role catchment of your school, it's Newton School, and we often think, oh, it's that Newton-only community. But locals have told me that your role comes from the north side of Great North Road as well, running down into Greyland. Can you just describe how the children and the families, because it's not just children walking, it's families walking, how they might be walking and cycling to school now, and how they might be walking and cycling to school in the future? Is it a key particular raised crossing that you're identifying has value, or
It's
is it the multiple connections?
It's the side streets at the moment that are really difficult. So the raised platforms with the side streets coming onto Great North Road would make a huge difference, because the cars just come straight out there and onto Great North Road. So I personally feel that's the biggest, would make the biggest difference, was just the kids being able to safely cross those side streets onto Great North Road.
The side streets at the moment, it's really easy to get clipped with cars coming around because there's commercial vehicles parked and everything like that. On K Road, it's fundamentally different because cars look before they turn because they know there might be a cyclist coming, or they can see that green in the raised. So part of it would be the cycle path, but it's also the raised crossing and the difference between traffic and knowing there's scooters and cyclists coming, so they're looking.
So just go back to the first part. You've got a number of children and families on the north side of Great North Road, and is that growing as there's pressure on other schools further to the north? Can you just give us a sense of the role pressure and the increasing number of children and families wanting to walk and cycle to the school?
So Great North Road, like in the last 10 years, we've had the touring building going in, we've had the Crest, North Apartments, we've got the Hadlow townhouses. This is all just in the last 10 years, just between the Ponsonby intersection and the library, if you know where that is. There's more than that. It's on the PowerPoint. So we've just got an increasing number of families coming into this area, which with the new station will increase as well. That's part of our catchment zone too. And so we've just got all these families. Our role is increasing. We had to turn our library into a classroom last year. And there's work to go on with that. And like I said, we have the smallest land area per student in New Zealand. And so not only do we have these kids trying to get to school, but our school really wants to be able to use our community assets like Greyland Park on the other side of Great North Road and like the library. And so we walk there. And so part of it is not just kids getting to school, but our school getting out into the community. Yeah.
And one last one, a quickie. What is the difference between on Great North Road, this is crossing from the north side of the road to the south and vice versa for those communities, your school community. What is the difference between an at-grade crossing and a raised crossing?
Sorry, an at-grade crossing.
An at-grade, so an at-grade is just the surface running flat in line with the carriageway, and a raised crossing which slows the vehicles down. What is the difference in terms of the young people that you care for?
Yeah, just like Liz said.
I think it does make a difference, because slowing the traffic down is part of what we need there to have our children moving about safely. I think
It's use, really. Like, do we feel safe taking our children and walking them to these places? So do we do it or do we not? Basically, are we using a car to get to school, Or are we saying, actually, this feels safe, we're going to walk and bike? You know, are we having to get buses in to do our school trips? Or are we like, actually, and we love doing things like walking down to K Road. It's amazing for the kids to be out in our communities, but the difference is whether or not we feel safe enough doing that. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Sarah and Liz, for your presentation today. Councillor Fletcher is happy to move a recommendation on the screen. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hills. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you again, and certainly all the chief personnel at Auckland Transport have been here listening to your presentation as well.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, next item on the agenda after our public input today is local board. We haven't received any for that. However, item 7, extraordinary items, we do have one extraordinary item that will process Understanding Order 2.4.6, and it's to do with the recently released draft government policy statement on land transport. I think we've got the recommendations up on the screen. I'll just very quickly run through it. So it's really just an opportunity to receive a relatively brief update on this GPS. And as people will be aware, it was only released on the 4th of March, earlier this week. And it can't really be delayed into a subsequent meeting because the submission's closed before the next committee meeting. So we just want to get a very brief verbal update on the process so people understand what the council will be doing. So that's the reason for the extraordinary nature of that. I'm happy to move it. Councillor Fletcher will second that, and we'll have that later on in the agenda. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, thank you everyone. Which brings us to the agenda as published today, and the first item 8 is almost a pro forma one in respect of the Auckland Transport Statement of Intent, which Claire is going to introduce. Basically a modification of AT's Statement of Intent due to legislative change and a request by Audit New Zealand. Welcome, Claire and Alistair, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. As the Chair has outlined, this report is basically just seeking an amendment to the Statement of Intent for Auckland Transport to align it with an amendment that was made to the Local Government Act around the financial provisions. It doesn't change any of the content or direction that's signalled in the Statement of Intent, and there's no flow on. It's just being asked of all of our CCOs to update it accordingly. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Is there any questions about this? It's just really respond. Okay, Councillor Henderson is happy to move. Councillor Fletcher second. Any discussion? All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Okay, thank you, Claire. Item 9 might take a little bit longer, I think. It's the Auckland Transport 6-monthly Q2 performance report update. Claire is going to introduce it. We have Chief Executive Dean Kimpton and here to lead that off from Auckland Transport. And as we know, this is a summary of the 6-month performance. You should have got that report. It's quite bulky, and it's an opportunity for councillors to drill down on some of the details. So over to you, Claire.
Thank you. So as the Chair has outlined, this report sets out Auckland Transport's 6-month or Q2 performance through to the end of last year. As such, it doesn't reflect the recent government changes or some of the rail disruptions and RFT and decisions like that that have been made over the last few weeks. They are separate items that will be discussed on this committee. Dean is here today and can highlight some of the key successes and matters for your consideration or answer any questions. I'm happy to take the report as read. I note that Table 1 provides a summary of AT's Q1 and Q2 performance for each of its KPIs. And also, AT's report does provide progress against the 43 deliverables that are specified in the SOI and notes that 18 of those programs are on watch. And there is an additional recommendation in the report that is in response to the Independent Maori Statutory Board's treaty audit, which highlights that the Achieving Maori Outcome Plan is still outstanding from Auckland Transport. We've recommended that they provide that by June 2024, and I understand that the board has committed to that, and so that's in progress. So happy to answer questions and or offer Dean the opportunity to highlight anything he'd like to from the report.
Well, I think we'll just go straight to you, Dean.
I agree. Thank you. Sorry, I thought we were going straight to questions.
Sorry, okay, I thought you were going to just make it, so you're just happy to take
I'm
questions?
happy to take questions, and I don't have the team with me. If we need a specific, we've got some of our team at the back, but no councillors or anybody provide us any particular question in advance, so I wasn't quite sure who we should have here. So if we don't know the answer, I will come back.
Right, so we're just going straight to opening it up for questions. And
I note that board member Mark Darrow is here, and I wondered whether it would be good to invite him to
yes,
participate.
Mark was going to come up with the next item to do with the
Okay, no,
fuel
that's
tax. So
fine.
Mark is coming up then, and we'll be available to answer questions. So this is on the
The period, yeah.
Oh, okay. So all right. So we're opening up for questions now, and Honey, IMSB member, Honey, floor is yours.
Morena tātou. Just a real question. You made a reference that it doesn't reflect the government changes that have taken place. What impact in terms of treaty obligations yourself has, because you never achieved the Māori outcome for procurement, and you said that you're waiting for Haukura's audit delivery, but the issue that really is outstanding is the government changes have impacted on Treaty of Waitangi. What impact, if any, which I would think possibly could be, have you viewed that would impact?
Yeah, thank you for the question, member. And I acknowledge Lillian Tahuri, who is also here and available to talk about our approach to developing the Māori Outcomes Plan. But in terms of a change of government and in terms of any impacts of the GPS on land transport, our commitment remains as stated in the SOI, and that is to deliver our 2% target. So I don't see it having any effect at this stage on our commitment as agreed with Council.
So what would and how in the next 6 months are you going to work towards achieving it? I know that you're waiting for this audit review that Haukura has done, but I haven't heard what else.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you once again. We're currently at our core SOI target is to deliver 2% of our capital spend, and we're currently at 1.7. So we've tasked our sustainable procurement team with ensuring that we achieve that. Now, we do know that a number of our suppliers are also committed to the same outcome. We're doing an audit of what their spend is. I believe that we will achieve the 2% by the end of this year, and that you'll find that we are either met or exceeded, and that's our commitment internally.
Oh, that's great to hear. It's ensuring that it does take place.
I've been frustrated. We've set on 1.7 to be fair, so our commitment is to deliver the 2%.
Kia ora.
Councillor Hills?
Kia ora, thank you, Chair. It is always hard to know, because this is looking backwards, but I also want to talk a little bit about it this year. So first of all, good stats on the cycling. That's a pretty big jump in expectations. So, you know, would great to have more infrastructure to connect more people to the current infrastructure. But the question was, how are we going with March Madness? To be honest, it feels like you guys planned ahead really well, and it feels what I'm seeing, but I'm only seeing part of the network. Do you have any updates? Stacey's updated me about a week or so ago, but the numbers are good, over 100%, I think, on buses.
Oh, the numbers have been really interesting. So there's a couple of themes here. I'm sure Stacey would answer the question far better than I would. But we did plan for March Madness, and we saw signs of that occurring through frantic February. Good weather has definitely contributed to patronage. Our patronage last week was circa 95, 96, 97% of pre-COVID. It's come off a bit this week. Aucklanders don't like catching public transport in wet weather, so we've seen it come off about 3%, as I recall. But our numbers on a daily basis are sitting at or above what they were in March 23. So we're very pleased with the strong uptake, and we've complemented bus services in particular across the network where we've seen real demand for additional capacity.
Thank you. Two more questions, sorry, Chair. The one quickly on safety and including Great North Road. So I'm not 100% sure, it's not super clear. Joe's sending me a bit of the data on the decision last week on the safety program. I'm a bit confused at what actually has been approved. There was a lot of... So we're continuing with what we unanimously approved around this table, or is there... Obviously GPS will change some things, but...
Sorry, Councillor, just to make sure there's a few things moving. One is katoa kaora, which is around speed management. The other one is around speed-related safety infrastructure. Are you asking both?
They're kind of connected, but...
They are,
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So if you're okay, I'll talk to both.
Yeah.
So katoa kaora and speed management, what the board has approved is two things. First of all, they have approved us taking to the next stage a proposal for variable speed, reduced speeds outside schools marae, and there was one council request called Kariatahi Road. So that is approved and it'll go through the legislative process. The other thing the board asked for is there were some very specific roads or locations, particularly town centres. The board asked to have another look at that, and we will bring a paper to them through a subcommittee and then into the next board if agreed, that looks at specific town centres or specific roads where there is a safety case for reduced speed. So that's on speed. On safety infrastructure, what we have done is we've looked across our program. We've been doing this for several months, but we've looked across our program and said that we've had an approach that has quite possibly been one size fits all and very driven by what the funding approvals were, which didn't take a risk-based approach necessarily to where we were in the type of infrastructure that might be required to deliver a safe outcome. So we've said, with safety in mind, because we're deeply committed to that, what are the options for delivering that safe outcome? And that's where we've identified that actually raised platforms aren't required everywhere, and there are a number of other safety interventions at lower cost that are able to deliver the same safety results. So that's what you heard us also approve last week, a more tailored risk-based approach to delivering on the safety objective.
Cool. And you just saw that presentation on Great North Road.
Yes.
Very clear presentation. Can you confirm that the enabling works are still going to carry on into the full program? I mean, I feel like we've supported that and pushed that project 15 times now.
So this is getting to the heart of several of the issues that are confronting both Auckland Transport and Auckland Council. So we've completed the enabling works, so that's all been done, and that was a great result because the enabling works included joint investment with Healthy Waters. The balance of the project is around cycling safety and bus optimisation. There are hundreds of buses that go up and down that road every single day. So my view is there is still investment required down Great North Road. And at this stage, until we've gone through a reprioritisation of our capital program, that project continues until we decide otherwise. At this stage, that is in our program. We've not made any decision to stop or de-scope it.
Okay, and last question. Thanks for the update on Devonport, and I know got Gulf Harbour too, so Devonport, I think, more peak services by June, which is great. But I haven't had, and Stacey said it's coming, but I don't know, do we know a date on Bayswater, Birkenhead, when there might be a new boat in there? Because Explorer are doing great, but obviously those 75-minute frequencies are a bit of a killer.
Yeah, they are. Sorry, I don't know the answer to that question. Can we come back to you?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Councillor Henderson?
Thank you, Chair. Just two questions from me, and it's following on from Honey's question. So, first and foremost, why are we missing the mark on Māori procurement targets?
Good question. I think there's a couple of pieces of feedback in there. First of all, I'm not sure that we have necessarily connected the spend with where we're seeing suppliers that qualify and to the degree that is accurate enough to satisfy us. But more importantly, what we haven't done and we will be doing is we haven't tracked what our third-party suppliers are. So on Eastern Bus, we know significant amounts being spent through and delivering on that Māori procurement outcome. We haven't recorded that, so that's what we're going back now to have a look at, so we can better connect what the broad range of spend is and bring that through into that result, because that legitimately qualifies as part of our commitment to deliver.
So it's potentially a recording issue.
It could be, yeah. I just want to make sure that if it's a recording issue that we've resolved that, and if it is, that's a reasonably simple fix. If it's not, then our commitment remains the same, that we will deliver against our 2% target.
Okay, cool. I look forward to the update on that one. So Councillor Hills has stolen my other question, but I'll just ask it in a sort of follow-up. So thanks for the level of detail that you did provide in terms of the speed management stuff. Can I just ask you at a more broad sort of fundamental level, are you confirming today that you're committed to implementing katoa ka ora, given this committee's unanimous decision?
We're committed to delivering, as I said. We're breaking that down. We haven't, at this stage, committed to delivering all that we originally consulted on. We have committed to delivering on schools, Marae and Kariatahi Road. We are committed to bringing into that, subject to board approval, town centres and specific roads. But what we also acknowledge, and I felt was also acknowledged around this council table when this was last debated, is that we have got a new speed rule coming in, and the view was it was unwise to get ahead of that until we understood what that actually meant, and that was the view of the board.
Okay, so if I could just, this is my last question, thanks Chair. If I could ask it sort of another way, are there parts of that plan that we endorsed that you will not be committing to as an organisation?
Oh, the honest and frank answer is there could be. Yeah, there could be. It's got the approval process. So it was great to have the endorsement of this committee, no question. Yeah. But and that is definitely has significant weight. But there is a process that needs to go through, and whatever we decide or approve also needs to go to the Director General of Land Transport and be ultimately approved. And without having discussed it directly with them, they will be waiting to see what the speed rule is as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Mayor Brown?
Thank you, Chairperson. I've got a couple of questions. One's about the dynamic bus lanes, and I see there that we've piled into consideration. Can we see what you do consultation? And the idea is to get one or two up and then consult, I would have thought. So if you consult first, there's feedback. As a result of the feedback, we're going to reconsider it. So if we ask everybody what we're going to do, we'd never do anything. I mean, if you recall at the consultation for the dynamic lanes at Whangaparaa, everybody opposed it, but someone was brave enough to do it. Now they'd love it. So, eh? No, but quite a lot of the public did. And so, who do you consult with for that? just the people in Mairua Road or the whole community or the users of, why and what and how and did happen there?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. This is the horns of a dilemma question, this one. And I acknowledge that, I acknowledge the delay and the frustration. One of the things that this council has been very clear to us is we need to better listen and understand our communities. So I hold that as one principle. The second principle is that as we approach opportunities like this, the groups that we do want to hear from are this group. We want to hear from the local board where the dynamic lane may be proposed. We would want to hear from, particularly affected business associations or the like. So that is the nature of the consultation I think we would be undertaking, and I'm more than willing for us as an organisation to do trials. I agree with you, okay? And if we do it on a temporary basis and we learn from it and it succeeds, great. And if it doesn't, then we'll adapt. So I agree with you, Mayor, but I want to acknowledge or out the fact that we're being asked to listen and understand and take our communities with us, not doing it to them.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, until they've seen it, they don't know what it is. And so...
So I agree.
I mean, I can just see if you consult too early on time of use charging, there'll be people who say, oh, we don't know, because they don't know what it is. Mm. And so I'm getting to time of use charging in the next page. I'm now on page something or other, 78. Again, I want you to get at least 2 of them up by mid-2025. And one on a motorway and one on a road, so that people can see what it's going to be like. They're not going to be live, it's not going to be charging them, but there's signs up there saying, if you were here at 9 o'clock now, it would cost you $4.50 or something or other like that. So they get a feel for what it is. And the other thing is, can you get the cost right? Because it says $220 million, which is a number that came out of something years ago when they were talking about an exclusion zone for the city, and which is infinitely more expensive here. Like there's no need for a gantry on a motorway. There's bridges, you just stick it on a bridge. So if that 220 million is left there, that will become the figure. And it's not based on anything like what we're doing. So my question is, can you please remove that figure and either put in a different figure or put in a question mark saying we don't know what it is yet?
Yeah, I also understand that was subject of a workshop yesterday. So, yeah, I agree. We'll go back and test that figure. That's an old figure, and we will make sure that it's either got a question mark or something that's more likely.
Just a rather high-level question, Dean, following on from that in respect of the dynamic laning and having some familiarity with what happened in Whangapraia, which was quite a long process, and the Mayor was right. There was a lot of sort of obstruction from the public who had various perceptions on how it may or may not go. As it turned out, it's been a godsend. I shudder to think what it'd be like without. But I did recall at the time that there was quite a lot of consideration had to go in via the NZTA approval process in terms of cross friction and safety. So it wasn't quite as simple as we all thought in terms of people then adapting to the new roading. That was very fortunate in the sense that you had a very localised community that travelled on the road every day, so you had people very familiar. Are you finding that some of these other possibilities have got that sort of constraint, or is it just a matter of getting through that kind of consultation and trial process?
So we've got a dynamic lane opportunity that's local road to local road, where we generally have all the levers within our control, and if it works and it delivers a better result, great. Where it intersects with the state highway, that's where you have to also get agreement with NZTA. And there are some examples where that would be a significant topic that we would need to address with them. Because if you took the current 2 or 3 lane road and you, for example, Whangapara Road, and you want to put 2 lanes into the state highway network when there's currently 1, and that 1 is being used to throttle volumes on the state highway network, and now you've unleashed the throttle, that becomes an issue. And I can think of several roads where that would be the case. So that is something that we need to agree with them. And in the same way that we're having to agree with them, the Northwestern Busway, where it comes in and off local road onto state highway network, that also becomes a throttle. So there is issues that we need to address. That would be another example of the same constraint.
Okay, thank you. Final question, Councillor Ferry.
Thank you. I've got questions in 3 areas. First is deaths and serious injuries. That was not met in Q1 but was met in Q2. Do we understand, is that just a seasonal effect? Do we understand why we had an improvement and how we can build on that improvement?
Sorry, I can't answer that question off the top of my head, Councillor. I will come back to you on the reasons for the Q2 improvement.
Great, thank you. Then the dynamic lanes issue, so there has been consultation on one, just to confuse matters, it's Great North Road, but it's a different part of Great North Road in Waterview. And one of the things that's been raised there, a lot of community concern, and the discussion of the possibility of trialling there was that a trial's not possible from the consultation conversations with AT. So wanting to understand, given the interest you've just shown in trials, is that going to be re-looked at there as a result of the consultation? Because I think there's a lot of practical stuff there that needs to be worked out, like, for example, the entrance in and out of the service station, which is quite difficult.
What I might do, Councillor, is just, Murray Burt's in the room. If Murray's got an answer, we'll bring him forward. If he doesn't, we'll come back to you.
Yeah,
Murray.
no worries. No, okay, that's all right. We can keep talking about that. Yeah.
Okay, no, we will come back to you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Just noting the interest in trials, I think that would be one where we should potentially wave that flag. And just to go back to the speed management stuff, so I think I heard you say before, looking at variable speeds rather than permanent around schools, Marae, and obviously Kariotahi we'll put to one side, that's separate. But can I just understand, I thought we were looking at permanent?
Look, I need to double check exactly what the board resolution is, sorry, but I'm aware of it's either permanent, fixed, for fixed periods, 7 days a week or 5 days a week. So that is one option, and variable is another option. So we've got both options available. And we know that those options, depending on the environment you're in, they will work better in some locations over others. So the view was of the board and staff was that we should look at the context in which the speed control needs to be put in. So, for example, if you're on a rural road, and this is often quoted, and you'll probably recognise it, if you're on a rural road, having a variable sign that's also flashing at you, telling you're in a low-speed environment that's come down from 80 or 100 to 30 over school hours, that's a very powerful way of communicating to a driver, rather than a sign that's static and fixed there and saying, in the appropriate font size, between 7:30 and 9:30 you need to be driving 30. So we will look at the safety case and we'll vary, and that's the position we're taking. We'll look at the safety case and say what sort of signage and how do we manage safety in that environment.
Okay, so I understand that in the rural context, but most of these are not in the rural context.
Many aren't, they're in urban environments, yep.
Yeah, so that's something I think we need to discuss further. So where a local board supported speed management permanent outside of school or marae or indeed other streets, what weight is going to be given to that in the next stage of the process?
Outside of schools and marae, full weight, because that's all been approved and it'll go through for support. Outside of town centres and some other selected specific roads, that's coming to the board. And we're aware, and I've seen the draft report, it outlines quite succinctly what the position of every local board or other interest group is in that speed outcome that's being sought. So that's all there and it's fully accounted for and is part of the consideration process.
So I guess, given that the board had that information, did they not have that information prior to the meeting last week, I think it was?
They had all of that information, but the decision was made to progress at pace on schools and Marae and then to look more deeply at specific roads in town centres. So we're just taking a two-step process. They're 1 month apart.
Okay, so I'm just flagging your high level of community support for the Bird Streets and Point Chev. You won't be surprised by that. And I know that the local board there is very keen to action that as soon as possible. There's quite a high level of frustration that it's been separated out and is now going to be delayed. So I think the community is going to be looking for an answer on that.
I'm aware of all of those town centres have got varying degrees of great support, so and that's all recorded and understood.
Okay, looking forward to an outcome. Thank you.
Councillor Bartley?
Oh, thank you. Just in regards to your engagement with local elected reps, I really appreciate you hearing me about the Pimnua intersection and people still driving into the wrong lanes, and Jared Plumridge and Ian Kingston coming out on site and the very next day coming through with some actions that can be put in place. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. I also wanted to ask about trains, because in my bubble and my rose-coloured glasses, I was celebrating the Eastern Line being reopened again. I did my TikToks. I was saying, everybody get back on the train. And then there was disruptions, heat, and other things. So I also see in your report you have a disruption blueprint. Does that mean we're going to be expecting more disruptions? And if so, how are we going to socialise that perception that just because the lines were closed, have work done, does not mean that they could operate continuously with no issues?
So this is quite a complex issue for us, and you'll have Kiwi Rail in here later on the agenda. We've been working really positively with Kiwi Rail over years, including recent months, to support them with the business case approvals needed to get the investment to bring the tracks up to a standard where we can provide the level of service that commuters expect. And so that work continues in progress, and you'll read the same media I do about the challenges of that. Our view is these disruptions will continue in various forms until we've resolved a minimum level of service across the track infrastructure. But as Auckland Transport, we deeply support Kiwi Rail getting there, and we'll do everything we can because we know that our commuters love travelling on the train. And when a train is cancelled or delayed and people lose confidence, they don't all shift from the train to a bus. They, maybe 60% do. The rest either don't travel or they use a car. So we're very committed to getting this right. It's a very, very important part of choice. How we communicate that the disruptions will continue and what form they'll continue and over what lines, that's a good challenge. Some of the planned disruptions are easier to communicate. It's the unplanned where we have an incident or there's a failure of some sort with very little warning, that becomes tougher. But we are looking at how we communicate from an AT perspective, no question.
Thank you. And also appreciate your comments regarding Great North Road, because, I've started taking my niece and nephew to school, and my God, I'm so scared they're going to get run over on the busy roads that they have to go through. So the youngest one, I will take her in the car, but the older one, he wants to walk, so I take that risk, but appreciate your comments on that.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Councillor Bartley, and certainly commend you for that initiative with Pam Muir, actually getting people out seeing that and seeing someone coming round and going on the wrong side of the roundabout. So there's seeing is believing, as the old saying goes. So well done on that. Okay, so that brings us to the ends of questions then. So you want to say something?
Chair, I just wanted to say one thing, and I know that you've got the summary. I should have said this at the beginning, so forgive me. You've got the dashboard that identifies where we were Q1, Q2, the not mets. We did report to the board for the end of January that current status, we're only down to 2 not mets. And our commitment is that we will be met or exceed on all of these. So I just want to say that good progress is being made across all of these metrics. And so that's why I can look at the Maori procurement and say we're deeply committed to achieving that. The one that we may not achieve could well be the maintenance standard or the asset condition across the network. But we're working very hard to achieve that with the level of investment that's been approved. So, look, I'm feeling positive about the direction of travel, but a lot of hard work's going on from a good team to get there, and it was pleasing to see the January result. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Fletcher has moved it and seconded by myself. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Okay.